What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about The Founder. Now, The Founder is a movie I've seen several times before because I love it. Underrated as hell in my opinion, and unlike a lot of the other movies that I've seen that I thought were really great, this is one of the ones that I'm drawn to rewatch every now and again. And so I just had one of those moments and I recently rewatched it. And so I wanted to talk about it for two reasons. Number one, because it's fresh on my mind. And number two, because I feel like I don't see enough people talk about this movie. The Founder is based on real life events following the life of Ray Kroc, who is the founder of the McDonald's Corporation. And while I can't speak to the movie's accuracy in totality, it's an entertaining story nonetheless. For the sake of this video and for the sake of this movie not being 100% accurate, I'm going to refer to Ray Kroc as a character as opposed to a person during this video, even though that feels weird because he was a real person. Since I'm only going to be talking about the movie and the characters in it and not the real life events and the real life people, I just wanted to make that distinction clear. I find movies like The Founder to be very interesting due to the fact that they have main characters that aren't necessarily heroes. In this instance, you have Ray Kroc, who is the focal point of the story. He's the protagonist. You might even root for him throughout the story, but he's far from perfect. As a matter of fact, he's essentially the villain of this story, of this whole movie's story. He might be the hero of his own story, but he's the villain of everybody else's. And I know in this case, the characters are portrayed to be how they really were, because this is a story based on real people and a real story, and that's mostly accurate, or at least it's supposed to be. But I really enjoy just stories like this, where the lead character or your main character or your protagonist isn't necessarily a hero. He's a very gray character, but so is everybody else. You kind of root for different people throughout the story based on circumstance or based on, other factors. And so I really enjoy that about this movie. It's one that kind of keeps you on your toes. My one and only criticism about this film has nothing to do with the story of the movie. It's more of the filmmaking side of things. There are times in this movie when I suspect that there's no food or drink in these cups and these bags that people are eating from. And that's something that I suspect and have reason to suspect because I've worked on sets and I know that they didn't put, actual burgers and drinks into all the extras, props. But even for some of the close-ups, I feel like no food or drink was actually eaten in some of the scenes. Like some of them you can definitely tell a bite was taken. In others, it feels like they're being faked, and it was a bit distracting. But I guess not everybody would have that issue with this movie either. If that's not something you notice, then this is a non-issue for you. But like I said, aside from that, I have no complaints about this film whatsoever. The cast of this movie is absolutely stacked, and I think that for the most part, they're what make this movie. It would not be the same without these performances that I think are very believable. Michael Keaton does a great job in the lead role, so does everybody else. Nick Offerman, John Carroll Lynch, Laura Dern, Linda Cardellini, BJ Novak, Patrick Wilson, everybody. This movie clocks in at about an hour and 15 minutes, not including the credits. So almost 2 hours, which isn't a terribly long runtime, but it's a decent amount of runtime. But what makes that so interesting is that this movie was shot in only 22 days. So to be able to make a movie that long, with all these sets and all these actors and all these different props in only 22 days, if you know anything about the filmmaking process, that's an impressive feat. When I read that, I was surprised. This is one of those movies that as I'm watching it, it brings out my love for movie making and makes me wish that I was back on set somewhere filming something. I don't know what it is about this movie. Maybe it just reminds me of something that I worked on once upon a time. Who knows? That's really all I've got to say about The Founder. I love this movie. I always have since the first time I watched it. And if you love film just for the sake of film, I can't recommend this movie enough. But what did you think of this movie? Have you seen The Founder? If so, let me know in the comments down below and tell me what you thought about it. Because no one ever really talks about this movie to me, so I've got to just, put it out there and hope that someone responds to me on the internet. But yeah, if you want to help me out here on YouTube, liking this video, commenting on this video, subscribing to the channel, or checking out some of my other videos, all those things help me grow the YouTube channel. Maybe I'll do some more movies like The Founder that I think are, underrated, that people don't really talk about. I've kind of already done that. but more on the animated side of things. So maybe I'll branch out into doing more live action stuff, who knows. Oh yeah, before I go, I wanted to leave you with 2 fun facts about this movie. Jeremy Renner was a producer on this movie, which I didn't know until I was looking things up to talk about in this video. And second fun fact, Michael Keaton almost wasn't in Spider-Man Homecoming because of scheduling conflicts with this movie until this movie got pushed back, I believe, and then he was able to do Spider-Man. Yeah, so it was almost one or the other, but instead we got 2 great Michael Keaton performances. All right, until next time, bye.